Dunbarton Board of Selectmen meeting to order for Thursday, February 8th, 7 P.M. I have all three selectmen present, the town administrator present. According for the citizens of Dunbarton, it's Mr. Leo Martell. In the audience, I also have a few town officials, the town moderator here, we have chief of police here, and a few other committee members here. Thank you for all coming. All right, gentlemen, I have some minutes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 25th, 2024 meeting minutes as amended.
I'll second those.
Any discussion on those?
Lean, I didn't get a chance to relook at them, did you see my note from?
Yes, I did,
Okay,
to change these,
dollar note?
Yes, I saw that change today. All in favor?
Aye.
Read those. We have a public hearing at 7:15 PM. We're gonna try to conduct as much town business beforehand, so we don't waste any time. Okay, I'm gonna open up for public comment. Back row first. Anyone in the back row? Second row in?
Front row's down.
Front row, okay. Hearing no public comment, I'm gonna go right into general business.
Did you do mailbox?
mailbox, yep.
Yep. Alright, I got a letter, just, it was not, I went home and I pulled it in, we just, acknowledgement from the Department of Energy of Washington DC, that if you recall that letter we wrote in support of, Twin States Clean Energy Link, they just thanked me for the input, and that was approved, as we all know, and, they just said, thanks for the.
Yeah, I got one of those.
Okay, so that will go in, and I also put in here the newspaper, discussion on that.
Okay,
And for the folks, that's an improvement on power lines going through town. And every time we improve power lines, it resets the value to no depreciation, so we get a higher tax revenue out of it. And they're gonna create a substation, the improvements to a substation will increase tax revenue for the town. We're not getting any discounts on power.
It's about $400,000 worth of increase revenue.
Right. And it'll be a couple years out, but we'll get that, which is a win-win for the town, because we have such a great industry base here, we don't. Okay, next item.
Which one was that on the agenda?
This,
mailbox,
yeah,
and it's the email from the, town attorney regarding the 3% COLA for volunteer
We're not
firefighter.
gonna get into that one now, are we?
It's up to you, we wanna wait,
That might be a longer discussion, I think.
okay,
okay, just, library, just, there's an email, there's an issue with the plumbing issue over there. Has that been called in, has our handyman come by, look at that, Lean, or?
no, I was asked to, send that to the, it's still in the service warranty, so Chicoine's been notified.
Okay, he's been notified,
Yeah.
any response yet?
I believe they were out last Friday, but I do not know the results.
Okay,
He called the plumber in question. I
okay,
think that, snow or ice off the top roof.
that's what I heard too,
Might have blocked the vent,
okay,
Yeah,
causing
she
it
hasn't had
to
any
curve.
problems since, so,
Yeah. I think that is something that we're gonna have to look at in the building design though, because there was a small backup of water on the overflow vent, and I
Okay.
think it was a similar situation.
which is where is that located?
That's located on this far corner, right in front of the elevator.
Okay.
okay, I have a memorandum of understanding for prosecution services. Essentially, haven't had an updated memorandum of understanding for prosecution services with Dunbarton and the city of Concord since for many years.
Early 2000s, I believe.
Yeah, so it's been reestablished, and the police chief has put it together for us. I don't see any issues with it. I was in the mailbox, but I think, Chief, do you ever wanna address this at all?
It's already in my budget. We've been with them for over 20 years. They do a really good job, and the town gets, quite frankly, an extreme bargain on the services they provide. So the city solicitor is leaving for a judgeship, and he wanted to get all the towns, make sure that there was just an updated MOU before he left. So this locks us in for 5 years. Very modest increases from year to year, and, we love working with them, so.
Okay, so it's a win-win for the town.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the MOU as written.
Okay, I'll second that, okay, I second that, and any further discussion on this? Hearing none, Lean, there's one signature there, will be the town administrator or myself.
I have to notarize it.
Correct, so I'll sign it as,
Yeah.
Thank you for getting that into us, Chris.
Oh, no problem, thank you.
and then Buxley, then notarize that.
Do you want me to do the appointment?
Yeah, we have a few appointments, let us go ahead. We have a few appointments to make across the committees.
I'll make a motion, to appoint Michael Lassard to the cemetery trustee. And term ending March 2026. That's it?
I'll second that. And discussion, since we have the chair here of the cemetery, this is recommended from
Yeah, this is recommended from the board. We have a member that wants to step down, and become an alternate as opposed to Mike. He does, quite a bit of work for the board, so we have someone stepping down and Mike will take their position.
for his signature, then he's gotta be sworn in, with Linda.
So you'll have a full board?
Yeah, still a full board, like I said, just kinda moving up people. I'm stepping down to be an alternate, and Mike's stepping up from alternate to a full board member.
Good to see a full board.
Okay, we have a notification, it was by email also, but, it's capital improvement time. The capital improvement program needs to be, could be re-energized for the working period of 2025 to 2030. It's being headed up by Donna White. She's sent a message out to, all the committees, and, they're gonna get, essentially representatives of each, department. Should we have a, selectmen's rep on that?
We already do.
Who is that?
I was gonna,
Okay,
yeah, and I'll be on there for the cemetery trustee.
so you two have two reps on there.
Yeah.
On that
Yeah,
meeting,
I'll have to notify.
Lean will have to notify for that meeting.
Yeah.
Excuse me, issue here. Okay, we got a, concern, from a resident concerning plowing. I've talked to the road agent regarding that. He explained it, it was a very good explanation. I'm very happy with the explanation. My road agent's here. I pass on to Lean, and could that be passed to, the concerned citizen?
I already have.
Okay, I think there's no other action needed.
I got a
Jim, you-
question.
Go ahead.
When does this turn into harassment?
Every snowstorm, I would say.
Okay,
And I think I'll go on record
like I
for saying
said,
that.
when does it turn into harassment?
Yeah, this is one of this year, so I think I'm gonna let this one float the way it is.
Fair enough, that's just my only question. When
And,
does it turn into be harassment?
Agreed. The initial,
That's my-
After how many years?
amen. But the thing is, I think at this point, I'm gonna let, this is one.
Yeah, that's fine,
But the thing is, let's monitor it.
that's fine.
Okay, David, I have an exit interview from an employee, and it concerns the department you're overseeing. I'd like you to take a look at that
Okay.
and take it for action. The employee leaving would like to meet with the supervisor.
Okay.
Okay. We also had a, last meeting, we had a resident come in concerned about how the tax bills last year were disproportionate. I agree with them, they were disproportionate. One was significantly 22% higher than the mid-year one. The mid-year one was set, and then the other one was 22% higher. An explanation was given to the resident, and the thing is, we're pursuing some information gathering, whether or not we can equalize it a little bit. But the thing is, I think it was an off year in a sense that I don't think you're gonna see that every year.
There is a response from the DRA now.
Okay, I did not read that, so I'm not gonna comment on that, I need to read that,
I'll read it also.
okay, so, mailbox. But that's still an investigation. Okay, I think that's it on the mailbox, how are we doing for time?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Well, I just wanna give an overview of, a lot of people don't understand, I'm I'm gonna take this is quiet time now, I don't wanna sit here and just look at you and you look at me with nothing to say. So I'm just gonna quickly, review. When we set tax rate, there are two tax periods, we have one in the mid-year and we have one end of the year. The mid-year one, the first one, the first tax bill that comes to your resident is based upon the previous tax year. They take 50% of, let's say 2023, what happened? We pay 50% of what we paid in 2022, and that becomes a basis for the first tax payment of 2023. Now, what happens in 2023? What happened this past year? Well, we had a road bond showed up for the first time, a first payment. We had close to $1 million increase in the school budget. We had a pay review, top to bottom pay review across the board. We had inflation, rampant inflation run across supplies and services across the board. So all these were not factored into the first tax bill, which inflation kind of screwed us over last year. So last year, we had a tax bill that was 22% higher year end versus the first tax bill. A lot of people were opening their tax bills up and said, why did it go up 22%? It didn't go up 22% that was the tax bill for that period, but for the entire year, it went up around 11.5%. And that can be attributable to inflation. And all the services that went up last year. Last year was a bad year because inflation, as I said, all those other expenses came to fruition. And it just took people for a surprise, as a double whammy when they got a 22% increase in the fall. I kinda like, take a little more responsibility for not alerting the town to that, so I'll take a hit there, because in our letter, the first thing I said last year in the town report was, taxes are going up. And I went through the various reasons why they were going up. And we were plagued by all those factors I mentioned, and it was a tough year. This year, as we go through the budget, I went to the school board last night, their budget is almost 50% less increase than it was last year. And we are looking at a very small increase for us this year, I'll talk about percentages in a moment. So I'm looking at, we're not gonna have that major spike this year as we experienced last year. But I wanted to give you a flavor for that, because a lot of people were, I heard at voting day, went up 22%, why are my taxes going up 22%? Well, there was a reason for that, but in reality, it was only 11.5% for the year, approximately. Do you have any questions on that point?
I just wanna correct some, our budget was fairly flat again,
This year? Oh,
this
last
year and last year.
Yeah, but the thing is, I look at it as though,
We're all one town, whether it comes from the school half or the town half, you still had the increase. But ours, I think, was kept to a minimal, because we can adjust our numbers, some of theirs are more fixed.
and I agree with it, go ahead,
50% of $1,500,000.
yes. Go ahead.
I wanna thank you guys just for explaining that, because you made good explanation of that.
You understood me? Okay, if you didn't understand me, let me know, because, I tried it out with my better half, and she kinda like said, don't complicate it.
I did some, while we have a little bit of time, I did do some reading, with the DRA, Ron Slocum asked us a question, if we could have the tax period from the first half of the year and the second half of the year more equalized, so your increase wasn't all in the second half. Taxes right now, as the RSA states, we take the first and second half of the previous year, divide that in half, that's our tax rate for the first half of the year, cause our March meeting hadn't gone through yet. The second half of the year, we're past our March meeting, we've also set the tax rate in October, which is not set in March, our budget's set in March, tax rate's set in October.
New values don't get applied until April 1st also, so there's a lot of factors that come in.
So with that all being said, we have the accurate increase at the end of the year, and that's when we have to have our tax rate into the state of New Hampshire. And we're always one of the first ones to get our tax rate back to the state. So we know sooner than a lot of people. They do have some RSAs that may allow us to take payments on taxes that aren't due yet. But I will say, from what I read, it sets up a whole nother set of accounting, because now you're taking payments on taxes that aren't due. And so you have to be put in separate accounts, and it might be a nightmare for our town to do that. So we're gonna look into it a little bit more, but from what I've read so far, it doesn't sound like something we're probably going to do for that reason.
Go ahead.
How long have we been doing it this way?
Always.
so nothing's changed.
No, the only thing that
The
changed,
budget is,
it was a hiccup in the budget last year, in the sense that inflation, inflation was the highest it has been in 40 years. And that hit, that
well,
made
at
the
the end of the
budget
day, if you
offset.
don't spend the money, the taxes go up.
True.
That's how you overcome that.
But we
But I
have,
mean, the process for the billing is the same it's always been,
for the last, at least 40 years, yeah,
well, a long time.
long time.
Yeah.
Okay, close enough for, how, what time?
7:15.
Okay, 7:15, I'm gonna open up the public hearing for the proposed budget and warrant for 2024. Okay, this is my overview of our budget for 2024. I have to look back to 2023 first. In 2023, our proposed revenue was at $1,179,046. The DRA increased our revenue that year by $166,000 above what we projected. This was because the state had a great year in room and meals. And room and meals is distributed to all the cities and towns across the state. And so we got a good, I would say windfall, more than we anticipated. And this amount is represented as our new budget amount. So it went from, we had a revenue proposal of 1.1 and went to 1.3. And then on top of that, our actual revenues came in about $250,000 higher. So we ended up with the revenues actually at 1.6 million. And this ended the year with two items. We had excess revenues hitting the town at $263,000, and lapsing funds for last year were at $220,000, for a net surplus / excess revenues of $483,000. Now, we have different ways of how we're gonna deal with those dollars. In 2024, our proposed budget is $3,319,729. It's basically a $38,000 increase approximately over the 2023 budget, which, as Dave has always said, we have a small increase, we kept it relatively flat. It's a 1.16% increase from last year in our budget. So we're gonna take those funds, those lapsing funds and those excess revenue, and some of it is gonna be used against the 2024 budget to fund several articles on the warrant, and over $145,000 will be applied directly to the budget to lower the tax burden for residents. There are several articles on the warrant which will be basically approved and funded by taxation. And that could, if passed, could be a 24-cent increase. So that's what we did with the excess money. We're returning some of it to the taxpayers in the sense that we're paying for some of the warrants, and we're returning some, applying it directly to the tax rate. Now, I'm gonna start with budget. The budget's first. This is the revenue for this year.
You just did the revenue.
That was the overview.
Is that good enough?
Yeah, take a look, you ask the public if they.
I can go more detailed into revenues if the public so desires, but I think the revenue should be fine.
We have a breakdown by department, we've already gone over it for 3 or 4 meetings, so unless somebody has a specific question, I don't think we need to go through that again, line by
I did.
line.
Type on the handouts, the back page, what Mike just read or to the public, and the excess revenues at 263,615.
Yeah.
So that is part of that excess and lapsing surplus that we mentioned.
And revenues are important. If we look at revenues, the thing is, what we don't wanna do is overestimate revenues. Then we're basically spending in the red, and that does not bode well for any town. We'd rather have some money go over into the following year, but we never wanna go into the red. So we're relatively conservative with our revenues. We raised room and meals tax a little bit this year because room and meals went up. We didn't go the full amount as what the state anticipated. We raised our registration for motor vehicles. We had a banner year last year for motor vehicles. I can't predict it's gonna be a banner year this year, so we raised it a little bit. We raised a few line items a little bit. Even the road agent gets a revenue fund for roads. He said it should go up a little more this year because we have more mileage in roads this year. So we increased the budget incrementally, but we didn't go crazy. We still have a conservative outlook for revenues coming in. Gentlemen, agreed? All right, now I'm gonna go right to everyone's favorite part, the expenses.
Didn't look at it, just an overview at the moment. Are you on this sheet by?
Yeah, I was gonna go,
Okay.
it's both of them, really. Now, this overview, I just wanna say, what did we do this year that hit almost every department and every employee? We gave a 3% cost of living increase to all employees and all salaries in the town, a 3% increase. And it's a little bit less than the cost of living increase that the Social Security got this year as an example. So I'm gonna start with the executive, right at the very top. I'm gonna go through quickly, by line, by section, by department. If there's any questions along the way, please raise your hand and ask. Do not wait to the very end. The executive, essentially, we did a tightening of the budget as far as the hours, so we have the secretary, the recording secretary went down a little bit, but we have a 3% salary increase across the board. Election, vital statistics, that budget went up. We have four elections this year, and elections are costly. Every time we have an election, we have to pay a little bit more, so that went up. Additionally, we have a 3% pay increase. Financial administration, 3% pay increase. We also have some increases in software. Inflation hits the computer industry, so we have a program that runs the town business, that went up in, shall I say, registration fees. We have other software across the town offices that it just went up a little bit. That represents almost a $5,300 increase. We have printing costs. Town report's gonna cost a little bit more this year. Paper costs more to print. Assessing department, we have a 3% increase there. And remember, this is we have some new buildings in town. When we have new buildings, new homes being built, we have to pay for an assessor to go out and take a view of it and do a report, so we get the accurate value of the home. And that has a cost. It's not done for free. We're anticipating 25 site visits this year on an annual pickup. And also, again here, we have a small increase in software. Legal, we did pretty good on. The thing is, we had some planning board legal expenses and some zoning board legal expenses, and so we adjusted the balance appropriately.
We had 3 large subdivisions come through in that year, so that increased those legal expenses pretty substantial.
And our nemesis, Eversource, which is always asking for a rebate on their property values, again, we are paying legal fees for representation along with other, I think it's over 100 towns to a certain agency to represent us as we challenge Eversource and fight back some of their potential increases. Personnel administration, again, I have the pay increase. Now, we have some decreases this year, which are one-time decreases. In the workman's compensation and long-term longevity, holiday credits. The holiday credits they didn't get as many claims, so the insurance company's nice to us and said, you can have some of your money back, but that's not every year. But we had some money come back to us, and we put it directly against the bill for the year. Also, our insurance also went up because we had two insurance plan changes from individual to family, and we have to pick up 80/20, and that's also, we have to pick up that, so that went up a little bit. Planning and zoning, I have to say, it went down, it's essentially flat. And we do have a small 3% for employees, other than that, it was fine. Government buildings, now, last year, we had a budget estimate of, for maintenance of $250,000. We dropped that close to $100,000 this year because we got a lot of stuff done. Some of our estimates, which we anticipated the worst case scenario, we didn't come to fruition. And so we got a lot of stuff done last year, but in some things did not have to be done, so we lowered that budget significantly. Cemeteries, flat budget, no change. Insurance, again, property liability insurance, again, a holiday credit. However, we anticipate that holiday credit, it's a one-time thing, and the thing is, we are adding a new truck, and we have this building over here, where we're using the upstairs, and it's an additional liability, so there's gonna be some, so we got a decrease, but it also went up. So net sum, it went down a little bit, when it went down more, but we have to pay for those, liability insurance. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, just trying to keep up with you here, sorry to back you up a little bit.
Sure,
Under personal administration for the health insurance,
yes, sir.
it's like a 30-some-odd% increase. How come that's so huge? Is that just
It's,
healthcare costs in general? going
no,
up?
again, healthcare, you gotta realize, we pay 80/20, and the thing is, there's a when you go from a single plan, you get a family plan, we have to pay the 80%,
Okay,
okay? And that's,
And there's two additional.
and there's two additional members too.
okay, all right. Thank you.
And health insurance is a challenge.
Yeah.
Okay, police department,
Just let us know if we're going too fast or anybody, we've been over this 4, 5, 6 times, so,
am I going too fast? Raise
No,
your
the
hand.
slow reader.
alright, let
Okay.
us know.
Police department, well, the good news is, kudos in the town message, we're sending out, we have a police chief who actually hired 2 outstanding officers this year, so he has got a full boat this year of officers. And so that's gonna keep the salary line right at max, and so that went up a little bit. We also have a step increase, in addition to the 3%, we have a step increase within the police department for our employee. And, he's got some incidentals costs, you can see some software costs went up. We rely upon other communities for our dispatch and some of our computer support, and that requires user fees, and it goes up. So it went up a little bit this year, about $49,000 for the police department. Fire department, and my joke with the fire department is, they don't ask for enough. They got the 3%, which is to our volunteers there, and they're, essentially, it's almost flat, it went up a small amount of $4,000. I say that with a little bit of smile, because he's gonna hit us in the warrants. When it comes to the warrant, he has 2 articles in there, which we're gonna have to pay for, and pay some for. And we need a new ambulance and a fire truck this year. Building department, again, 3% increase, which is a minimal, and it affects essentially 2 employees. Emergency management is flat, and they say, what is emergency management? Well, you know that community center, which is part of the school, but it's a community center? If we have to house people there in emergency, we have a little budget line, we can take care of people with $1,000. That is obscene money. Highway department. Again, we have a step increase, and we have a 3% pay raise. We have some paving costs that went up this year. Material costs have definitely gone up. We had some decreases in maintenance. We are also asking for a new truck, for a town truck in Article 11, and so we did some moving money around, but some of it went down, so at a minimal increase of $2,400 for the line. Solid waste disposal, well, that's a challenge. It's gonna take more money to move junk and trash. And whether it be shipping, whether it be accepting the material, it has definitely gone up. And on top of that, our recycling, reimbursement rates for our recycling, it's nice to recycle, but that's gone down. So net sum is, we're paying more. I'll give you one example, the hazardous household waste collection. We budgeted $11,500 based on historical values in the past. This is where you can, and we work with Bo collaboratively, you can take your paints and your mercury thermometers and all that kind of stuff. Well, we budgeted $11,500 last year, it cost $15,700, so it went up. So we're budgeting for $16,000 this year. That hard to get rid of junk in your house costs money to get rid of. And we don't accept it at the transfer station, we have a once-a-year program where we can take it to Bo. All right, welfare. Welfare, we have a small, we have the cost of living increase, and she asked, that we increase slightly the, direct assistance line. We actually, expended the $5,000 last year, but we expended more money than that, but the money that we expended were from donations. And donations are not guaranteed, so we upped that a little bit to offset any donations that we may or may not get. Recreation, the recreation department, we upped that, we doubled that from 1,000 to 2,200, more than double it. And I was just gonna say, that committee was, dead in the water for about 5 years, and it's got some new energy, and they're doing great stuff. They're doing things for Halloween and Christmas, and, basically, providing youth services for some programs around the holidays. I give them an A+ for what they've done, and I was happy to raise that budget. Old Home Day, excellent Old Home Day this year. They were actually over budget a little bit, but they made it up with table fees, the fees they charge for vendors, but they don't get the vendors, they can't make it up next year, so we decided to up them just a little bit, about $800, very minimal. In the library, I'm gonna say is, the great board of people over there, the library trustees, they actually looked at their numbers, and they returned over $7,300 in money back to the town that they didn't use this year. Bond payment goes down a little bit this year, but we're in year 2 of the bond payment, that's gonna be eight more years after this year. So the bond payments, what's the bond payment?
Every year.
It goes down a little bit every year, but what's it for? Well, I have a little laundry list if you want me to go through it, but it's all the roads that Jeff worked on for the past 2 years with his crew to get them repaved. I got the list if anyone wants to hear the list. No takers? Thank you. You saved my voice.
Just so you know, bond payments cannot be paid early. They have to be paid out in full all the years they do.
But the thing is, as I recall, Jeff struck while the iron was hot, so we get a low interest rate.
We were fortunate.
We were. Okay, and then, we have the as Dave would say, we have the KFC Conservation Maintenance. It's not KFC, it's KTFCA Conservation Maintenance. It's a small fund, it's no change, it's flat, just maintains a piece of town property that was donated to the town. Okay, so I'm on the last page, and the thing is, I just wanna talk about where we are now. So we have an operating budget of $3,319,729. We're gonna subtract, projected
Well,
revenues.
first, Mike,
Go ahead.
first of all, our 2023 budget was $3,281,810. Of that, we used the $3,061,105. And now our new budget in 2024 is $33,19,729. So that $37,000 is the difference in the budget. Before we start the subtraction,
Right.
so it,
In other words, we went up approximately 1.2% from 2023, very minimal amount.
hats off to all our department heads. They kept level services and pretty much level funding throughout this. And the selectmen included, cause we've juggled things in our departments that we can move around too, so I mean, to do this year after year is huge. And we've been able to juggle money from one department to the other to keep the needs of the town still moving forward, yet keeping our budget, somewhat steady for the taxpayers, which, you know, I think is a hats off to our department heads. Without them coming to us with these budgets, we would never be able to do this. And still have some growth within their departments.
Okay, so we subtract our revenues, we have to raise some taxes, we're gonna, offset, the tax rate by, remember I said 145,000 of the last year's surplus, we added that in. We have to raise some taxes 1.8 million, approximately 1.9 million. With our revenues, we have about 5 million in new revenue, we're gonna add that later on in the year, but the thing is, we're projecting that the tax rate based upon 2023 values will be $4.59. Now, we look at the last year's tax rate, it was $4.42, so it's a net increase of 17 cents on the tax rate. Now, if we pass all the articles as presented in the warrant, they'll add another 40 cents, so the net.
No,
Say
we'll
again.
add 24 cents, right?
23 cents. Yep. So the net increase will be 40 cents
Yeah.
for the entire tax year. And the thing is, so it'd bring the tax rate approximately $4.82. Now, ready for the good news? No, great hands, good news? Okay.
where is it?
Good news, all right, good news. Remember, we have some good news, the thing is, every year, the DRA gives us the room and meals tax. Well, every year's been going up. We budgeted a little bit more, but we don't bank on that. So the thing is, that's an unknown, and it's always been going in one direction, not down. Even with COVID, it still went up. So that's an offset that will be not determined in the fall. What's another new, offset potentially? We have 25 new homes which are coming online, gonna be appraised before April. And that could bring, potentially, if we go for an average of, not the land, just the homes, of say an average home of 300,000, that could bring in 191K. If it's appraised at 500K, it could bring it up to almost 300K. So I'm gonna say somewhere in between. So I'm looking at 191K in addition to the room and meals tax to be offset the taxes in the fall. And so, school budget went up a little bit. I think it will almost zero our budget out and actually tackle the school budget too. And so, it's gonna be a good
It's a little
tax year.
confusing, cause what Mike's talking about is when we set the tax rate in October. Doesn't affect our budget right now. So he's looking at potential increases that we will have by those new houses coming online when we set the rate in October. Right, Mike?
Yes, absolutely. The thing is, and the tax rate is not set by us, it's set by the DRA. It's something we submit our numbers, they put it into a magic machine and tell us, how much we're gonna get in room and meals, and then they give us a tax rate. Any questions so far on that, how the tax rate works? Ron, I know you had a question in the previous meeting, I hope I explained it well enough this time.
You're close.
I'm close, I'm getting better. I've been doing this for several years, I feel I'm getting better at this, where you know, it's scary, I almost understand it. Any questions at all on the budget? Oh, come on,
All right, I'll ask.
okay, go ahead.
I'm looking through the line items and I'm just questioning, why are our telephone bills so high? I'm looking at, the highway department, the road, the transfer station, $120 a month plus for a phone bill?
Yeah, monthly, we pay out, I'm gonna say $800 a month with all the town lines, and that doesn't include the police department.
Wow.
It's not a residential rate, it's
It's
commercial.
Oh, I know, I didn't think it was that
I
high.
can answer some of that.
Okay, go
Charges
ahead.
the trunk line.
A lot of our buildings have more than one line
Right.
because of a alarm system.
Yeah,
The highway department's alarm system has its own dedicated phone line to make it serviceable. I'm quite sure some of the other
Library, too,
buildings have the
as well.
same thing. So we have that double cost. I can tell you, at the highway department, we have one phone, we don't spend a lot of time.
No,
We don't, there's only two of us here, 1.5,
Right,
so we don't
yeah.
make a lot of calls.
'Cause I see
But
there's
we get those two charges for the lines right at the top.
yeah, cause there's a mobile line item too, so that's
Yeah,
probably what
we
you
have a
use the
mobile.
most. I was just trying to figure out why a static line, and I know
Yeah, we have-
DCC is not cheap, but I didn't know it was that expensive.
No, we have to have one for the dedicated for the alarm system, one dedicated for a landline.
Gotcha.
And I
okay.
don't even know what they are, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
And we do have dedicated lines, like for the, lift over here. You know, a lot of things are set up with dedicated lines that need to be there as part of code.
In other words, you get stuck in an elevator, you wanna be able to call someone and reach out to someone.
And you know, I looked at that earlier, cause I'm thinking of my residential rate, but there are commercial rate phones too.
Yeah, that makes sense if there's more than one line going into these facilities, yeah. Okay, makes sense.
Any other questions? I'm open for questions. Come on, this is supposed to be a practice session for me, so when I get to the town meeting, I
I'll
can
hit you
handle it.
with one.
Go ahead.
You gotta be careful when you think about the added revenue from the properties, because you don't know how many kids are gonna be in those properties, which will go to the school side of it.
Right, but the,
And they all usually require some level of services, whether it's the police department, the trash.
We take all
fire
the money
department.
on our side, the
Yeah.
school gets the kick.
No, but like I said, I mean, it does sound good, but at the end of the day,
Comes out in
open
the same
space is
pot.
the only thing, it doesn't cost you money.
and I agree with you, and that's why we're supporting the Conservation Commission continuing mission
But I mean-
to,
It is good to say revenues, they will help out, yeah, but
It
there
will
are
help out.
also costs that go, and it could be all people with no kids, I don't know.
No,
But
I-
usually-
To
usually
support,
this-
to support that, there were studies done that show it's about $1.30 in expense for every dollar you collect in a new home
Yeah.
tax.
No.
But that, there's a delay there, right? There's
Yeah.
a delay in the kids growing up in school and services, but
So it's not helping.
With the new-
residential buildings do
Yeah.
not help the town overall in terms of taxes.
no, correct.
As far as the residential developments, the department that gets off the best is the highway department. because virtually all we have to do is plow the road, minimal amount of maintenance, they're all built to a standard now, they accept the water, the drainage, very little mowing, cause they're, built in such a way. And, you don't have to go back and repave them for a number of years, cause again, they're built to a certain specification. So if you broke it down per department, the highway department makes out the best.
Really, but I go back to the zoning department here. And the thing is, our zoning regulations have 5 acre minimums
Yes.
outside the area. And the thing is, that is almost unheard of in many of the towns surrounding us. And that's what keeps Dunbarton picturesque, kind of more rural appearance. And the thing is, and the states could come after us and say, you can't do this anymore because people can't afford to live here. And there's things such as come up all the time with workforce housing, you gotta be able to provide more housing for people and.
Which we do, we have all those in our regulations.
Yeah, but it's a challenge, because, a lot of communities look at the 5 acres that we have as a minimum, and they're jealous. Because you can put a home in, I think Goffstown, they only need an acre or less.
2 acres on a residential.
2 acres on a residential.
1 acre in town.
Yep. So, challenge. All right, I'm gonna close, if there's no other question, go ahead.
You're going to the warrant now, right?
Yes,
Okay.
we're gonna close the portion on the budget. Okay. The warrant. I'm gonna go, first, can I get a waiving of the reading?
Yeah. I'd like to, propose a waiving of the reading of the first section of the warrant, just like we do at town meeting. We just went over the whole town budget, and so you'll see on the first page on the bottom, Lena's nicely given us some of the, town clerk, treasurer, and of the elected salaries, just so you can see them broken down. And these are salaries only, they don't include the benefits. The town clerk benefits are listed down there separately. So when you go down through the budget, on the first
Article
page,
4.
and Article 4, and then the, second page, it finishes up, that's the budget we just went through.
So we're gonna start with Article 5, to see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be added to the revaluation capital reserve fund established in 2003 for this purpose, as summarized in the capital improvement plan. This sum is to be raised from taxation in 2024. Estimated tax impact 4 cents. We do this every year, so we put a little money away for this, so it's not a major spike in the tax rate, and we do have a reevaluation next year.
So this dollar amount's up a little bit from prior warrant articles because of that reevaluation coming up.
Real values coming up, is that a full or partial?
That's a full,
Full, okay.
every 5 years, I believe they're,
It's called a statistical, and until the DRA, inspects our data and determines that it's not a proportionable type, it's not accurate basically, that they will mandate a full-blown reval,
Right.
and at this time they're allowing statisticals to continue.
Okay,
And for the public, it's not done by town officials, it's contracted out.
right.
What do they do, like 20% of the time, is
No,
that?
they'll do the whole thing,
No, for the statistical.
they do the whole time,
Oh.
yeah. But they base it on sales and, marketing,
I think you might be asking, the DRA just does spot checks.
oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, Article 6, to see if the town will vote and raise an appropriate sum of $5,000 to be added to the transfer station vehicle or capital equipment, capital reserve fund established in 2014 for the purpose and as summarized in the capital improvement plan. This sum is to come from unassigned fund balance surplus, no amount to be raised from taxation.
I'm gonna put a note here at the beginning of these warrants, you're gonna see most of these capital reserve funds, because we had excess surplus, we determined to fund these funds that are on the tax warrants just about every year through the surplus money, and then we took the excess surplus money, $148,000, put it right towards the tax base at the end to lower the town taxes. So you'll see this is familiar. One thing here I wanna bring up, this is down at $5,000, this is typically higher, but as we said earlier, departments work with each other. Woody in the transfer station didn't have any needs on this year, so next year you'll see this dollar amount will go up to $15,000 and $20,000 as his needs get heavier, so. This is one that he's working, he didn't have any needs this year, so he's gonna keep it low, but it's kind of a placeholder.
And I just wanna point out, we say it's surplus. No, it's surplus, it's taxpayers' money. It is your money. We're just not, you know, if we didn't do this and we funded all the taxpayers, we'd be asking the taxpayers to fund this, so it's a shell game a little bit. But you vote, the taxpayers have paid for this
You paid in advance.
in advance. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,000 to be added to the fire department emergency vehicle capital reserve fund established in 2014 for this purpose and as summarized in the capital improvement plan. This sum is to come from the unassigned fund balance surplus, no amount to be raised from taxation.
Again, this one has traditionally been about $60,000. We dropped this down in prior years when Jeff needed help with a truck, I think, to $40,000. This year, because we need a fire truck, this one's brought back up to $75,000 to kind of balance that out.
Now, remember I said the fire department is flat? Hold on to your seats for this one. To see if the town will vote and raise appropriate sum of $499,740 to purchase a new fire engine and to authorize the withdrawal of $443,000 from the fire department emergency vehicle capital reserve fund established in 2014, and further to fund the sum of $56,740 from the unassigned fund balance surplus, no amount to be raised from taxation. Again, taxpayers' dollars already, but no additional tax burden this year.
Now, capital, reserves are so important, you can see that, you know, the lion's share of this truck is being paid for out of that capital reserve, which the money's been set aside year after year after year. And I think, as you see the board go forward in our next years, we're gonna make sure that we fund all of these properly.
Again, the purpose is so, when we need a $500,000 purchase, we don't have a huge spike in the tax rate. That's what we wanna avoid. We wanna keep things relatively flat.
Can I just point something out? Article 7 that you're voting on for a $75,000 deposit brings the capital reserve deposit balance up to $443,000. That's why it's so important to have a regular reoccurring capital reserve deposit. So Article 7 needs to pass, which with no tax impact, in order to be able to do the same for Article 8.
In other words, one is dependent upon the other.
That's what I was gonna ask, the 443 includes the Article 7.
It does,
So when these two are done, that capital reserve fund is empty.
pretty much so.
You're very well.
And which is normal what we do, Ron.
Right.
And they start building back up. That will
Exactly.
probably be $40,000 next year, not 75, because, you know,
Yep.
we'll have our trucks for quite a
Yeah,
few
I get
years.
it.
Now, Article 9 is interesting. To see-
So if 7 doesn't pass,
We're,
you can't do 8. You can't do 8.
Well, yeah, you could do 8, but the funding would
But you
change.
have to.
we have to,
change
on the floor, we'd have to change the funding on the floor.
And that's why you always put 7 before 8. And it's like that throughout this, you'll watch. It's gonna happen
That's the way
more.
the numbers go.
It'll happen more often here. Jeff, be careful, your truck's the same way. Alright, let's keep going.
Article 9, to see if the town will vote and raise and appropriate the sum of $293,554 to purchase a new ambulance and to authorize withdrawal of said funds from the fire department non-lapsing special revenue fund established in 2001 for this purpose. No amount to be raised from taxation. All right, you know those you know when the ambulance comes to your house, and you have insurance, basically you have insurance. The town collects on the insurance, and we get reimbursed for that. We put the money into a special fund to reimburse for a new ambulance on the road. So that's why it's no cost to the voters.
Now, just so we're clear here, the ambulance is slightly less than that amount. They've asked for use of the entire amount to do the rest of the fit up on the ambulance. So, John thinks that he can have all the fit up completely done for that, entire amount. If there's anything left that he doesn't need for the fit up, it will stay in that fund.
But we don't wanna cut his knees, cut him at the knees, because if we didn't allow him, if there's an inflation increase, and he can't buy it, because he can only be authorized to use so much, so we have to let him use the full amount.
What about disposition of the current ambulance?
It's probably most likely to be sold.
We better start saying our names for the record here too.
That was Ron Slocum, he wanted to know the disposition of the old ambulance, more than likely sold was the answer.
And I believe
We have,
that,
go ahead, Justin, we have one more question.
I believe that ambulance is 2 years out, as John said, cause that wouldn't be delivered till 2025, so.
I know that both of these items are at least a year out. We do have written estimates on both of them too, and we've gotten several different estimates that John has worked.
I saw your hand back here.
Me.
Yes, sir.
Bob Leonard, Holiday Shore. That 293,554, is that the total that's in that fund right now, so it's gonna wipe that fund out?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
And unless he doesn't need as much fit up
Right, yeah, like
as
what
he
you said,
needs,
then
there'll
you
be
can put it
a
back in.
small amount, 5 or 10,000.
Well, we could have a few more ambulance runs and we'll collect a few more dollars.
Okay.
All right, Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $50,000 to be added to the Highway Vehicle Capital Reserve Fund established in 2012 for the purpose as summarized in the Capital Improvement Plan. This sum is to come from the unassigned fund balance surplus, no amount to be raised from taxation. Again, very similar to the fire department, we're adding $50,000 to the Capital Reserve Fund, and hold on and listen to number 11 now. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate sum of $245,000 to fund the purchase of a dump truck with equipment and installation, and to fund this appropriation by withdrawing $108,000 from the Highway Vehicle Capital Reserve Fund established in 2012 to further fund $137,000 from the unassigned fund balance, no amount to be raised from taxation. In other words, it's the same scenario, Article 10's gotta pass, and we get some more money in there, and then we vote on Article 11.
Yes,
Is
the
this a-
$108,000 does include the 50,000 from the prior warrant.
Ron Slocum, is this a replacement or an additional vehicle?
Addition,
Okay,
There's gonna be a reason for that on the
it's
next.
coming right up. So, hold on to your seat.
The reason is the town's evolving.
Well, we're gonna let you get into that on
Yeah,
the next one.
Oh, well, I thought
Gonna give you some
I thought
time.
this was pertinent to the truck there.
Your second, Article 12 will be complimentary.
Okay, whatever way you wanna do it.
Stand by though, I'm gonna have you speak, sir.
10, 11, 12.
All right, Article
They're in
12.
order.
To see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate sum of $75,000 to hire a full-time highway employee. Said amount reflects funds for this position starting April 1st, 2024. The sum is to be raised from taxation. We are adding a full-time employee to the highway department. One reason is we cannot plow the streets in this town, how we're staffed. We cannot get contractors, and we've been struggling. This year, if we get delays on snow, thank God it hasn't been too bad, but the thing is, it's a challenge. It's not only in Dunbarton, but across the entire state. So we have enough work to be done. We decided it was time for, to get a full-time employee. And a full-time employee needs a truck to work if he's gonna work for the highway department. Hence, employee goes along with the truck. Jeff, you wanna comment?
Yeah, it's just the town is evolving, it needs to evolve. For many, many years, the town's relied on subcontractors to do the lion's share of the work, AKA snow plowing and everything else. And as Mike said, it's becoming more of a challenge to get the subcontractors for a lot of different reasons, and I'm not gonna go into a long lengthy thing. But if any of you watch the news, you're always hearing about the state that can't hire enough people to do what they need to do. All the surrounding towns around us are in the same scenario. So, having said that, that's gonna be a challenge for us too. If this moves ahead and the town says, yeah, we want you to get another individual, then we gotta find that individual. And that could be a challenge in itself, let alone this funding. So, it's a lot of different things are happening. We could potentially say, all right, we could hold off on the employee for a year and still get the truck and hire a part-time worker for the winter or something, but that isn't the way we wanted to go. We wanted to get a guy in the system. Currently, right now, we have one full-time employee and a part-time road agent, another part-time helper. And a lot of the tasks you need have changed, and you should have two guys working hand in hand. For safety reasons, we're very fortunate with the individual we have now. He's willing to do a lot of tasks on his own, he can do a lot of stuff on his own, no complaints. But it's not really the best way to go. And again, this is, the town should look into evolving. Now, this $75,000 number for the employee is not for the whole year. It's 10 months, I believe, Lean, did we feel?
9
months.
starts.
Okay, whatever, 9 months. So, in all honesty, moving forward, next year, with the tax increase will be pretty close to $100,000. By the time you pay a guy's wages, the insurance he may or may not need, you got uniforms, and you got some other incidental
Retirement.
costs that come, retirement and all that, which is a bit of a moving target, but it's not gonna go away. You buy a truck this year, we gotta pay for it. The selectmen crafted a good way of paying for it, so yes, it's your tax money, but you're not gonna see the impact of it. But the impact of the employee next year when the highway department comes in for a budget, is gonna be roughly $100,000 more. You can say, alright, you're gonna maybe get rid of a subcontractor so your cost can be reduced, but it's basically just cost shifting. At the end of the day, it's gonna cost the town pretty darn close to $100,000. And I just wanna get that out there, cause in
Jeff-
case something happens and I
Jeff
know.
was, at the town meeting, Jeff would be speaking to this, so this is a practice for him to.
If
And
it's not, if it's not snowing.
If it's not snowing, that's why I just wanted to get it on record.
So a couple more things to go
Yep.
along with that. The selectmen, when we're going through this process, we've been through it a bunch of times now, but they wanted to make sure that that employee was funded 100% by taxation, so we didn't apply money towards that like the capital improvements, of the capital equipment funds.
We thought it would be a false sense of security. If we said, hey, this guy's not gonna, gal's not gonna cost the town any money, they'd be like, oh, that's not a problem.
It's the
But
bill that
we
keeps
wanna be
recurring.
perfectly clear that this is gonna be an ongoing expense.
So instead of applying 75,000 of that, we put it 148 towards tax rate after this, to lower down the entire taxes. And I wanna take my hat off to the other department heads again, because, you know, Chris came to us with some presentations, we asked him to hold off this year. I know Woody held off on some things he might need for equipment needs, and, those departments, you know, are kinda paving the way to make sure Jeff's department is taken care of this year, and hopefully in future years, we can take care of other departments. So this town has worked hand in hand together very well, I must say.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
question, Ron Slocum again, so how tightly coupled then is this to the truck? Will you still proceed with the truck if this got shot down? We'll
Yes,
still
as
go with-
I had said a minute ago, we could still fund the truck, and we could possibly hire a part-time
Okay.
seasonal worker.
Mhm.
That's far and few between.
Yeah, well, again,
Yeah.
that's even a little more complicated.
But say you had a retired guy that wanted to just work the
Yeah.
winters, cause he had nothing to
Sure.
do with a CDL,
I
you
look
could
at
get
that
that.
as an interim, the thing is, we need plow drivers.
Right.
We are, now there's, it's not just plowing, he's got road base that needs to be, road work needs to be done.
The other thing
yeah.
is too.
And there is a part-time employee currently
Yeah.
that could drive the truck potentially
Yes.
too, so.
Oh, okay,
But, yeah, if the town for some reason felt they needed to make a choice, I would say, alright, choose the truck this year, next year we'll be back knocking on your door again for another employee.
exactly.
And maybe the complexities change, maybe people's opinions will change or whatever.
But
I did advertise with a sign and some other ways to try to see if we could land an individual, we got some inquiries. A couple individuals expressed some interest, I don't know if it's gonna materialize or not. And one of them was, I just talked to the other day, it was too late in the year to get going for this year. I don't know, you know, you,
Okay.
And to quote the road agent, the town is evolving,
Oh,
Yeah.
I get it.
yeah.
and the thing is, we have to be proactive.
And,
Well,
and
we're both
our
on the planning
resident,
board, and we know how many new roads we
yeah,
just.
and
Yeah.
With
People-
one full-time
people-
employee.
want a little more services than they used to want. When I was a kid growing up around here and 40 years ago,
They didn't mind if
a lot of things were, yeah,
60.
60 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of things were a lot simpler, but,
Alright, I gotta keep this
Yeah.
going, gentlemen.
so,
Alright,
Thank you, Jeff.
Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be added to the police vehicle and equipment capital reserve fund established in 2020 for this purpose. The sum is to come from unassigned fund balance surplus, no amount to be raised for taxation. And Chief is he's just continuing, again, the vehicles that get the most abuse in this town, police vehicles. And they have to be replaced on a periodic basis, and, we gotta fund that so we don't get the spikes.
It's better than rubber, that's why.
It's all gas or all brake.
We did bring this up from 10,000, we had prior to 15. There wasn't as much of the, off-duty, special duty work in the fund this year that normally funds half of that. So I think this new amount of 15 probably will be the correct amount going forward, only because whether there's money in the fund or not, the cars aren't gonna get any cheaper, so.
What Dave was alluding to, if you don't realize it, we have details that our officers can volunteer for when they're available. The details are paid for, like maybe a contractor doing some, road work, town gets a cut of that, employee gets a cut of that. If they're not doing details, we get nothing, and it was down this year. And so because of that, we wanna make sure that fund is level, not level funded, but just, maintains a straight line growth. Okay, Article 14, see if the town will vote and raise appropriate sum of $5,000 to be added to the land purchase capital reserve fund established in 1997 for this purpose. This sum is to be raised from taxation in 2024, majority vote required. Again, it's a one-cent impact. What the selectmen would like to do, we like to look at parcels of land which could be potentially be useful in the future. Now, we're not talking about 1 to 2 years, we're talking maybe 5 to 10 years. If something came up, we wanna be able to act on it and, put a deposit on it and work with the legislative body, the voters, to make that purchase if we see something. Dave, you wanna elaborate?
Yeah, so, we put this at 5,000 this year, just as a placeholder. I'm hoping next year with our budget, we can increase that. There's gonna be about $50,000 in that account. This will bring it up around 55, I think. We cannot spend this money without going in front of the taxpayers. There is an RSA that allows us to do that, but it gives way too wide authority to the selectmen to buy, sell, swap, change any town land. And we don't wanna go anywhere near that RSA after reading it. So whatever we find for a piece of property will come in front of the town meeting and the legislative body, to try and, you know, get some land close to town for parking and buildings and whatnot for the future.
All right, Article 15, see if the town will vote and raise appropriate sum of $2,400 for milfoil control at Gorham Pond, and authorize withdrawal of $1,200 for invasive species capital reserve fund established in 2018. To authorize the selectmen to accept the grant from state of New Hampshire DES for $1,200, known as a variable milfoil control grant. No amount is to be raised from taxation. This was a great year for milfoil. Minimal milfoil, if any, was found at all. We found some in the fire pond.
Yeah, well, John keeps coming to me saying, where am I gonna get money to treat the stuff in the fire pot? Is it, make a proposal.
I understood, but we took care of him, but.
Oh, we did, okay.
It was a good year for milfoil, we continue to monitor that. We keep our foot in the door with DES, so if we don't wanna go to the bottom of the list in case they change the way they do priorities and funding in the future. So this is one way of keeping our foot in the door.
Right, we're one of 43 towns that they partner with, and it's usually a 60-40 split on any of the monies, but this is small, so they give us, you know, half. This is just for diving if we need it.
And I wanna, you'll be speaking to that at town meeting.
I will.
Thank you. Okay, Article 16.
Name for the, did you say your name, Bob?
Bob Leonard, Holiday Shore Drive.
Thank you, Bob.
Yep.
Article 16, in accordance with RSA 31:113, to see if the town will vote to authorize the town forest committee to negotiate the purchase of town lot J20107 containing 44 acres more or less of unrestricted funds now in the committee's disposal and dedicate the same as a town forest. And furthermore, to convert a town forest lots I20203 containing 39 acres or more or less, lot E20201, known as the school lot containing 10.5 acres, and lot E30252 containing 11.34 acres. No amount to be raised from taxation. All right, we looked at purchasing some land this year. We did some housekeeping cleanup. We found that there was some town forest which wasn't accepted by the legislative body as a town forest. Only the legislative body can make a town forest. We have some land which was donated, some was purchased, but never really went through the process of being formally accepted as a town forest. So this is, I look at this as given permission to acquire some additional property and housekeeping, so all those other parcels are recognized as town forests. Any comments?
Nervous about when it says more or less.
It's the old deed, you have
Yeah.
to. Can I just say that, by going through the vote of the legislative body, this will allow the town forest to, do selective cutting and other, management of the timber that's on the land, and that's the only way they can do it is if it's made into a town forest. So this will clean up the ones that are on the books that just say Town of Dunbarton, but in the deed somewhere, it says that they're giving,
For the sole purpose of making it,
right, but even in the deeds say that the town forest will manage these. Well, someone can give it and assign it to a committee, but this particular, group has to go through the legislative body.
And
So
just so-
and
just so you know,
it's a, again, housekeeping,
These were all purchased with town forest money.
right.
Oh, some were donated.
Some were donated,
One is
too.
from a subdivision, approval, so.
So I don't see an issue with that, except that, we're giving them, the biggest thing is giving them additional permission to purchase 3 more acres of land. Okay, Article 17, which I have some gentlemen here tonight from, they're gonna talk about Article 17 afterwards. To see if the town will vote to adopt the Dunbarton Community Power Electric Aggregation Plan, which authorized the Board of Selectmen to develop and implement Dunbarton Community Power as described therein pursuant to RSA 51-E subparagraph 7. The program would provide a default electric supply and new renewable energy supply options for customers of Dunbarton. There is no cost to the town budget, no obligation to participate. Customers can opt out at any time and return to the utility default service on their next available monthly meter read date. Majority vote required. I'm gonna have a public hearing tonight, it'll be a second public hearing. I have these gentlemen from the group of people sponsoring this, helping with us with this article, with this warrant article.
They gave us 2 examples of how this warrant could be written. We took the longer of the 2 because we thought it had a better explanation to it. But we'll also have explanation at the town meeting, and later tonight, we are having a public meeting to go into that, so.
They're having a second public,
questions?
it'll be their second public
Any
hearing.
questions you have, we can certainly answer them then.
Good, Fred.
Fred Mullen, Stark Lane, how is this gonna affect, if any, the poles, wires, and everything Eversource owns that we get revenue from? Are they gonna say, well, we don't,
Has nothing to do with delivery, it's just buying electricity that goes over the
so
Eversource.
Eversource can't say, well, because everybody in town went to community power, that's we wanna break on,
You're still gonna get the separate delivery bill from them,
yeah.
from Eversource and Unitil, wherever you're located within the town. And so that delivery cost is what they're relying on for their income.
Bob,
It's no different than going out and buying power from, whether it's a gas generator or a company that is conservative with how they produce their energies. It's all, the only thing you get charged for from Eversource is delivery. As far as the power, you know, you're getting it at a cheaper rate, so this isn't any different.
correct,
That's correct.
Jeff,
How will the vote be taken? Will it be a show of hands at town meeting?
I believe so,
Unless somebody requests something.
correct.
It's not a ballot.
Not a valid thing.
Um,
Okay, I'm gonna move on, we have the other ones, Article 18, to hear reports of agents and committees and other officers here who have chosen to pass any vote relating thereto. And Article 19, to transact any other business that may legally become before this meeting. And that essentially is the town warrant for 2024. Go ahead,
Question, John Trotter, 300 Stock Highway North, on warrant number 4. Why are we under executive? Executive, election registrations, financial administration, assessing department, personal administration, why are we elaborating on, includes elected official, selectmen 3-member salary of $9,000?
Can I
Cause
say?
in,
yes,
can I finish?
yes,
Cause in fact, it's only $15 increase, so why are we bringing light to that? I think in your presentation, Mike, when you're talking about expenditures, it's more clear than putting it like this, because this is confusing in my opinion.
okay,
Because again, when we talk about elections, registration and vital stats,
mm-hmm,
again, has nothing to do with people's salaries, it's up $2 grand. And the reason why is because there's 4 elections this year. So that's the reason. This extraneous stuff in the parentheses doesn't mean anything, and I think it's just confusing. I'm done.
Okay. Lean, you wanna talk to that for a moment?
Several board back, asked, because we have one full-time elected, official, the options for the town to fund the salary for that position is either put that entire package on a separate article and let it stand by itself, or if you work it into the budget numbers to explain that the, position that you're funding under the election, category is funding the salary for a full-time person, and then the benefits come out of different accounts, so it's listed separately. And the board, felt that if we're going to be transparent and, inform the voters that this position pays this much, then they should do it for all elected positions. And then last year, from the floor, someone had pointed out that they thought there was an error on my, budget, and because the numbers for the right-hand column, do not match the total budget that would come out of the program software, and it's also reported that way on, the MS 636, which is the budget from the state. By listing it separately under a parentheses is basically saying that this is your total budget for that department, but in this salary, it's funding this position. And they just felt it was more transparent for anyone who's running for an elected position, if there's any wage or salary associated with that, that they would be made aware of what, like the Board of Assessors gets $700. So if you run for Board of Assessors, you have to understand that you're not gonna make a lot of money, you're really doing a lot of volunteer for that position. But this is just to be transparent for, one full-time position, and then, showing that there are salaries associated with a few
Oh, that's a
select
question for you, Lean.
elected.
Maybe just to, not to
Yeah.
cut you off, but
Nope.
in our town report,
Yeah.
could we reflect that in the town report like that, but on this warrant, just do the top line items like John is saying, so it doesn't look as confusing, 'cause
Okay, so what do you want me to do? Cause last year, these numbers were, the numbers for these positions were fixed, but I couldn't match them to the,
Right.
I think you have it matched perfect now, but if you just took out the parentheses below it,
okay,
do that in the town report, just like this, so people
but
will
you-
have a way to find the numbers.
You have a separate, remember the separate page where you have town official salaries,
yep, I do,
and so it's always duplicates.
okay.
As long as we have I want at least visibility of what somewhere in the report.
Right, in the town report, but not so much on the warrant. So you could pull out the parentheses.
Pull the parentheses as a recommendation.
All the wording in the parentheses,
Yes.
take it out.
Yeah, and just leave the line item like executive, elections, financial administration.
Okay, and you
assessing.
guys will speak to it on the floor?
It doesn't really need to be
I
spoken.
don't think we need to speak to it.
Okay,
If somebody brings up the question,
Yeah.
we'll know what page in the town report to reflect those two.
Okay, and that was the way the attorney worded it. If you don't have it on a separate article, the selectmen need to explain that the operating budget does include,
Elected officials.
selected, elected officials, and you can refer to
That
page,
page,
So basically what you did,
is that what you wanted?
when your expenditures, when you were
Right.
explaining it, that's how you explained
Okay,
it.
so take it out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, from
But
the board it changes,
No,
so.
the board,
I'm
the
trying to
previous board wanted, we wanted more transparency than anything else.
Right.
The problem is like, we even had, when do we announce raises, that, the thing is, someone's coming on, let's say, running for a selectman. But selectman this year is getting so much, but the new slate of selectmen are gonna be getting more, for whatever reason. A lot more, than $50,000, no, I'm,
I think the biggest thing came up is when we moved the town clerk to full-time
Yeah.
benefits. And then what benefits were included, weren't included, and
but,
rereading the warrant article, we cleaned that all up.
I
And
think
I
as
think
long as we
that's
have
the
it in one
reason they
place,
asked.
Right.
as long as we have it in one place in the town report, I think I'm happy, but we have to have that visibility though. I think it's a
Understood.
very,
So then we didn't wanna do it just for one elected official, if you do it for one, you should do it for all of them, so
Correct.
that's why we'll have it in another spot.
okay, good recommendation, thank you.
John Stevens, Winslow Road, quick question on four. The old home day slash Memorial Day is 6801. What is the value for old home day?
It went up a little bit based upon the recommendation of Old Home Day Committee, we went with the recommendation of the Old Home Day Committee.
And so the Memorial Day still stays at around the three.
That's right. Yeah, we did just like you requested,
Right, and old home day goes to 6,500, yes.
that's right.
I just double checking.
Okay, I did go over that, but I think we went with the recommendation of the committee. Because you were a little bit over budget, and you only made it up by table fees, and we don't want you to be over budget this year.
Table fees and a couple of people down here.
Mike, one thing you didn't do, because we went so fast over this, and we might be able to do it in one motion.
Yeah, we
Articles,
did that last year.
yeah, Articles 4 through 17,
Yeah,
because we've gone over the budget so much, I think would be a recommended board vote 3-0.
oh, you wanna go through the votes now?
Want
Yes.
to just do them as one motion?
Yes. I think we're gonna stay in uniform here.
So articles, or warrants 4 through 17, we've been through the budget, adjusted them enough, and got them all to where this board has been happy with them. We're gonna do a 3-0 vote on all of those all at once.
All in favor?
Aye.
As we had differences and we worked them out before we got to the meeting.
We had lots of fights over there.
Last meeting.
All right, I'm ready to close the public hearing, I'm gonna open the last questions, any more, last questions, Leo? All right, I'm gonna close this public hearing on the warrant. Thank you for attending, and thank you for the questions. Ron, thank you for not killing me.
Wait till town meeting.
Ron, you mellow one out.
He's got all his paperwork to dream up some new questions now.
Yes, if I get a moment, I'm just gonna go through the warrants one more time, who's gonna speak to it at town meeting? Article 4, yeah, we'll do it real quick. 4 will be myself,
Mike,
and with support from my two fellow selectmen.
no support.
No support, right,
I did 5 last year, I'll do that again.
okay.
Justin,
Justin. Transfer station vehicle, that would be Jeff on Article 6,
No, that's Woody.
or Woody, excuse me.
so this is
I'm not gonna
Dave.
talk about the transfer.
Okay,
Dave is 6.
Dave, the LBU 6, yes.
What do you need?
I'm
Yeah.
10-11 well.
Fire department, you want me to do the fire?
No, I like to see, John.
No, you have to do one of us too.
Oh, John and Dave,
Okay, Dave,
you're the backup, Dave.
every department head's gonna do their own talking.
Right,
So I'll
Same
do
thing
the
with 8.
other fire, I'll do all the fire then,
okay.
and I'll do the ambulance with that.
Yeah. 10 will be,
Jeff?
Jeff, and I'll take that. The backup.
So this is
So you're gonna
Mike,
do 11.
I'll do 11 with Jeff. Police vehicle, I'll be
You're
there,
gonna do 12.
12,
No,
yes,
why don't you do 12, Justin,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
you do the backup.
The police chief is gonna be invited to speak, he'll ask permission from the, he'll be there,
I'll do the vehicle with Chris.
okay? 14, Justin, you wanna do 14?
Justin,
Let Dave talk about that, he knows.
Okay,
more about-
Dave, you wanna do that?
I will.
Alright.
Justin, you can do Gorham Pond.
No, Gorham Pond is,
He's gonna say, I'll
Bob-
be second.
Yeah, but
Second
he's
to
not
Bob.
there.
No,
he's not
second
there,
to Bob.
Justin will be your backup.
Okay, good,
Any last minute changes or concerns, make sure he knows it.
will do.
The
I
town,
will do 16, I think.
since you're the representative there, but, who, from the town force wanna speak to that? You think anyone from the town force would speak to that, or would, we're comfortable with the selectmen doing it?
They can speak to it if they want, or you can refer to me if you want, I can,
I think we'll see who's there that night, Fred, we'll just talk about it right there.
Fred can do it.
Fred, I'm gonna put you down.
get me in trouble, huh?
Absolutely, gotta share the wealth there. Fred and Dave. And Dunbarton Community Power, I'm gonna, we have to invite you to speak, sir, your, again, last name is, sir?
Hayden?
Hayden, that's correct.
And I'm the representative on that, so I'm gonna speak in behalf of it.
What we have to do, the body has to approve you to speak ahead of time.
Cause you're out of town,
You're out of town already.
and Dana can speak to it
I
as
was
well.
gonna say, Dan,
You get right up behind
I'm
him,
gonna nominate Dana.
any taps you need to give him,
Okay, that's good, Dave, we've got that done. All right,
I got a bunch of these already.
does everyone take a stand-up break for 1 minute? Or we're gonna continue on to the second public hearing?
Go for it.
Second public hearing, we're gonna go. All right, this is for discuss the adoption of the community power for RSA 53 E, so paragraph 7. Again, this is their second iteration with us. They gave us a briefing overview, then they gave us a public hearing. This is their second public hearing as required by statute. And then they'll be available to the rest of the voters to talk at town meeting about it. And my personal thoughts, I'm not gonna waste your time on this, but I think it's very worthwhile considering. Sir, you're up. Just introduce yourself and go from there.
Hi folks, my name is Bob Hayden, I'm from Lineborough. I've been working on community power for quite a few years. I'm here with Dana Lavoy. Dana from,
Yep, Twist Hill Road here in Dunbarton, on the Energy Committee, and I'm the committee chair for this, community power.
so before I get into this, I'd like to congratulate your select board and Lean on the fine budget. I've been to a lot of these meetings. You guys have the lowest percentage of rate increase, so congratulations, it's impressive.
Thank you.
I got handouts, who would like a handout? No, we got a few.
We don't give it into our department.
Well, whatever it is. I have to excuse myself on this, because my teammates put them kinda upside down. The reverse pages are all not flipped.
You can't read upside down?
I know.
Here, I'll get one.
Thank you for your service.
No, that's not bad.
No, he's got one.
Mine's right side up.
That's because your new eyes. That's because your new eyes, they put them upside down.
Alright, notice, there's no town seal on here this time. I'd like to ask for a.
Jeff's gone.
I know! He had all the good questions last time. I would like to ask, when the committee presents you with a plan for your approval, can we put the town seal on that?
Yes.
Alright, thank you. Alright, so I'm Bob Hayden,
You can't answer that, no.
He said yes, that's true.
and you said yes a long time ago. Excuse me for that. You can raise your hand and ask questions at any time on this. You bet. So this is based on a law, RSA 53E. And, I got a bunch here. This time I was more prepared.
We'll give back to the public if they need it.
And the process was rather arduous to get this approved. It took 3 years to get it done. 3 years ago, when the governor signed it, it was signed with a 60-day to implement clause at the end of the law. It did take 400 days. In the meantime, a few towns in Cheshire County and Hillsborough County got going on it and started programs with us. Keene, Swansea, Marlborough, and Wilton started plans. At this time, we're launching New Boston, Jaffrey, and Milford. And then we have about a dozen that are already approved and in pricing, and then we have another 18 like yourselves who are coming to town meetings. So we're doing a lot of town meetings, so if I cringe every time I'm asked now to come to a town meeting, that's why, because I've been asked to a bunch. So the legislative piece is the next page where it talks about 53E. We do comply with all the rules and expectations of the law. And to the question about the wires and poles, this is this page right here talks about that, and this is one of the most important pieces in this conversation, is that your utilities, be it Eversource or Unitil, continue to make their revenue on transmission and distribution. That's their only source of revenue, is a 10% override on those two parts of your bill, transmission and distribution. The purchasing and service associated with the electricity supply is a cost, and they are happy to get rid of it, because they can reduce their costs by getting rid of it. And they can make a higher percentage, or retain a higher percentage of revenue on transmission and distribution without being liable for the service of answering the phones about the supply. We get the pleasure of doing that along with the third-party suppliers. The only thing that changes on your bill, and that's, well, that's a few pages in. I'm gonna stay with the simple stuff first. We can usually buy power considerably lower cost than Eversource or Unitil, because they buy it in 6-month chunks. We will probably buy it in somewhere between 18 and 20 months, 30 months, whatever makes sense to your leadership and the leaderships of other towns is what we'll do. And normally, we're able to add more renewables and provide a lower price and a stable price. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the Eversource rate, I know off by heart, I don't know the Unitil one, but it's gone from 22 to 20 to 12 over the last 18 months. So it's been rocking and rolling, and now it's dropped pretty low, so they got a real good price right now. I'm not sure who cares about renewables in their electricity mix into the future, but I can tell you it's something that's near and dear to me. I built an earth-burn passive solar house when I was a kid. I put solar on it about 7 years ago. I still heat with wood that I cut and split myself, so and it's a very light load, so I care. I care enough that my business was built on rebuilding and automating old hydroelectric plants. And I believe in solar, hydro, wind, which is not too prevalent down here, but we're looking at tiny wind for residential applications right now. And to some extent biomass. It's gotta be clean biomass, but it can be done. It can be done. Those are the 4 that are eligible here in New Hampshire, and they're part of the renewable portfolio standard of the required amount of renewables that have to be in all electricity. And when we talk about additional renewables, that's what we're adding, is more of the green certificate or renewable energy certificate that represents the greenness of those generators. In general, the program does a few other things. One of those things is right here, and the most important one to me is this right here. The fact that there's some people in your community who are learning more about their energy, the delivery of their energy, and the makeup of what generates it. The education part to me is the most important thing, and I'll always be happy to, do other education opportunities for folks, be it here or any of the towns we work with. Maybe next is protections. We have like 15 companies that are able to mail you things in the mail and have you opt into a program. Often with a teaser rate. Often with a rate that goes way up after that. And sometimes that catches people by surprise. This protects you from that. Your leadership picks a term, and we have a negotiated rate on a competitive bid, and so we will be able to, we will definitely purchase electricity at lower than the utility rates. We can't guarantee what will happen in the middle, but so far all of our plans are quite positive. If your community continues to do other renewable energy programs, we can build them into the program. And so those are the features that help with this. Here's the bill, your Eversource bill, and this is important, and it's illustrative of the part that we talked about, where the utility still does the same delivery. They still send you the same bill. The only things that change is the supply cost would be expected to be less. And then on the next page, which is the other page of your Eversource bill, if you have Eversource, is the one line. That's all that changes on the bill. And it would say Dunbarton Community Power. Those are the changes, and that cost will be less. The expectation is that your default product, what that means is if you get the mailing and you do nothing, you'll be defaulted into the program. And that will have a small amount of additional renewable energy. The choices you will have is to opt out and stay with the utility. To opt down a little bit and have no extra renewables. Or if you really care, you can opt up to 50 or 100% renewable. So those will be your choices. If you do nothing, you will be enrolled in the default program. Yes, sir.
So if I do nothing and I'm defaulted into this, okay, I'm a member, but suppose I don't, I choose not to join, but then 2 months later I want to.
Call us up.
Okay, that's all I wanna know.
Call us up. There's one more piece to that though. If you are on one of those other third-party supply opportunities already,
Yeah.
you won't be eligible. You'll get a card for opting in. So we'll know if you're on some other third-party supplier. And I thought that was your question last time.
No, but I'm looking at your, example also is where it's showing how the delivery charge and the use, and mine is opposite. My delivery charge is way higher than what my uses are.
That's surely possible.
Are you on a third-party provider?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you've got a good rate going.
right.
No, our
okay,
delivery
okay.
charge is higher too, and I'm on Unitil, and ours is higher,
Yeah.
delivery's higher.
Yeah, it tends to run about 14 cents, and I think, and
Yeah, but the delivery charge is what, I pay more on delivery charge than I do for the use of electricity.
we can't fix that.
No, I understand that.
Not yet,
I'm just
maybe
looking at
someday.
your example, I'm like, that
It'll
doesn't
take
look
quite a
right to
few
me.
bucket trucks for that.
It does take a lot of bucket trucks. I don't wanna really be in that business.
If you, a year ago though, the winter time, these supply charges were all higher if you weren't on a third party like you
Right,
have
right.
chosen.
That
If
is
you were,
true.
if you were in Eversource or Unitil last winter at this time, you were paying,
22
you were
and
paying
24.
Yeah, right.
26.
Right.
26?
Unitil was 26.
But don't they judge,
Well,
don't they, now when you're getting that 22 cent for kilowatt hour, doesn't that jack up the delivery charge also?
No,
Oh, no?
no,
No,
sir.
Oh.
yeah, they're independent.
Yep. And we probably will see some significant increases in delivery. There haven't been any significant increases in quite a while. It's likely to be coming.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen anything
Holy
legislatively
moly.
yet, so it can't be too onerous yet.
Did you launch the program in New Boston, Karen?
Yes,
So you guys locked in for rates, what are those rates?
they were a dime, so they're high.
Yeah, cause I saw some scuttle on social media
Yep.
about they're being higher than the Eversource rates.
Yep, and the people
things.
who want can not join. When we bought it, the rate was 12,
Mhm.
and the rate went from 12 to
And
8.5.
that's for your lowest standard rate without renewable.
No, it has like a 0.3% load for extra renewable in New Boston
Yeah.
and Jaffrey. Milford opted not to have that.
And I wanna point one other thing out, they reduced that rate because they overcharged you.
Yeah.
They didn't reduce it because they're nice guys. They reduced that rate down because they overcharged us earlier at that 22 cent. And I don't know if anybody remembers this, but because they only cycled 6 months now, I think we're in the new norm since these last 2 years have happened. It's gonna be higher in the winter months, lower in the summer months. Higher in the winter, lower in the summer, and vice versa. And they've lined up the months that they're gonna charge between Unitil and Eversource and the other power companies. But my big thing for putting this in front of the voters is that we can get this rate, hopefully when it's low.
Yep.
Right now, and it'll be good for 30 months, you don't have to worry. Otherwise, on a regular utility, every 6 months, you better be looking at it because you're gonna pay double.
This page here shows the oscillating rate of a plan from Massachusetts, where the Eversource rate goes up and down on a 6-month cycle rather dramatically. And the community power plan with the green dotted line with a little extra renewable stayed pretty level for most of the time. Followed the rate increase during the Ukraine-Russia event. And then that particular town, Somerville, has increased the amount of renewables in their plan, so that's part of their rate increase. They've gone from, I think, 5 to 20% renewable over time.
But that's optional, correct?
Yeah, but the community's doing it incrementally on a town vote.
Okay, but that's the default plan, can you go for the what they call the basic plan?
Yeah.
You have to opt into the basic plan.
For them, yes, that's a choice.
So even on yours, if you look at,
Is a unit
One of
to
those.
build.
what was on your, hang on, one more page, right there.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4, we're going right here at the start.
Probably,
But, what happens if I want the basic?
you opt down to the basic.
So the thing is, voters gotta realize, they wanna even lower even more, they can call in up to the basic.
Or send the card back. Website, phone number, mailer, all choices.
From my understanding, the selectmen are choosing the default rate that we go with.
Yeah,
So
you,
there's 4 rates to choose from, but us as the selectmen are gonna choose the default rate that the town would go into,
you guys,
out of those 4.
you're the ultimate arbiters. Your committee will give you a plan with suggestions on everything. And if you wanna make changes to it, that'll be up to you, and you guys can work together on that. I work for you guys as a whole, your committee and you as the select board, I work for you.
Very clear, thank you.
And
So
you
we
can tell,
choose a default rate, but they could also use that postcard to choose any of the 4
Yeah.
besides the default
That's what I
rate.
wanted to make. Good.
That's to the green people, the recyclers.
yeah, the green people, yeah.
Which is nothing wrong with it, it's commendable.
The nice thing about it is you could probably pay the same rate as Eversource and be greener by being,
Being 100%, yeah.
but
Do we know what the overcharge amount was?
1.5 cents,
So it should be 10?
about.
Okay,
And our buy rate today is 8.9.
okay.
So it's a rather paradoxical time in this scenario. Yes, sir.
What happens if we have a cold snap and you got renewables parts on there?
Did you ask this question last time?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Somebody asked it. Go ahead.
But,
I'm
like,
sorry.
you take Texas as an example.
Yeah.
It froze to death.
Yeah, their grid shut down.
Right.
Their grid shut down.
Right.
If our grid shuts down, everybody shuts down.
Okay, what,
We don't deliver the power.
okay, so we can opt in for renewal or not, or?
Yep.
Okay.
Or how much?
Or is it gonna be the selectmen that are gonna decide that for
Of the
us?
4 plans, we'll select one of the 4 plans as the default. You can either go more green, less green.
Yep. Or none.
Or
None over the RPS, the Renewable Portfolio Standard, says there has to be a minimum renewable amount in all electricity delivered in the state, by law.
so you're already getting that with Eversource or you.
Yeah, 23.4% is automatic. And again, that's from the 4 renewable sources: wind, hydro, solar, and biomass. Clean biomass, supposedly. So, our goals, the committee goals: rate relief, stable rates, long-term savings, and no individual contracts or exit fees, and consumer protections. And for me, I'm gonna go back to the last one that I mentioned, or first one I mentioned, which is right here. This is community education on these things. In other communities, we've surveyed a lot of other communities. That's this page, a little pie chart. And, for the most part, people would like more renewables. Or the respondents. Sometimes there's survey bias, so that could be a possibility. But for the most part, people do want renewables. We're seeing that 5 to 10% of all folks that we start plans with go to 100% renewable, and about 5 or 10% opt down to no renewables, no extra renewables. So we are seeing that there is some push for the 100%. And we do have one community, Keene, who plans to be 100% renewable by 2030, which is coming right up quick, and it'll be an interesting path that they'll need to take to get there. I'm kinda curious how we're gonna do it. We are looking at a 50 megawatt solar project in town, in the city limits, on beautiful land, with 30-year gorgeous tree growth. What a paradox. Okay, as we said, these are the choices that you get in your mailer, or expected, and surely Justin may have some opinion on, or input on that as we get closer to launch, which would be sometime after town meeting, of course. Right now, this is our timeline. This is the timeline, and we're moving along. Your committee's going at a very brisk pace. so we will be ready for town meeting. Shortly thereafter, we'll be ready to submit the plan to the PUC. And, we have 100% approval rate with the PUC. So that process is getting a little bit more predictable,
How long does that generally take?
up to 60 days.
Okay, and how long after the town meeting, if it's approved, and we get our act together between the energy committee and the select board, do we have to square away the rates with you?
You would first approve the plan
Yeah,
and would submit that to the PUC. Then once it's approved, we would go to pricing. And then we would be talking about pricing and plan at that time.
okay, pricing and plan, how long a period of time, because if the rates are way high, we don't want you to get, obviously. to get a
Nor do
surprise.
we.
Right,
Nor do we. We wanna buy at the right time. So this is normally, what's today, February 8th? This is usually one of the worst times of the year to buy electricity. But natural gas is at a 5-year low. It's the driver of electricity costs, natural gas pricing. It's at a 5-year low. It was below $2 a decatherm today. It's crazy. I called everybody I have gas contracts with today. Because we've diminished exports. So what we make in the US is staying in the US. And we've had mild weather across the whole country. So we're not consuming the natural gas, so there's a glut, so the price is crashing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And, just a personal,
so are we gonna wait till next February, or how long do we have? Before you kick us out and say,
indefinite.
hey.
Oh, no, indefinite.
Indefinite,
Yeah.
okay. So once it's approved.
We want you to get it done.
Yeah,
Cause that's when we make money. This is all, just so you know, residents, we don't charge anything for this service. We only charge if the power flows. If the power flows, we make 1/10 of 1 cent per kilowatt hour. So that's our fee. If the town chooses to do all the work and then never execute, we've just had the pleasure of working with you.
So somewhat to Dave's question, once the plan was approved by the PUC, what's the timeline for implementation where actually bills could actually, once a price was chosen, bills could actually show this?
Yeah.
What's that
It's about a 60-day timeline from that point,
from that point?
because
so 60 and 60, 120 days, best case scenario.
it would be very good, yes. And here's why.
So 4 months.
We have to send a mailer, we have to leave it in your house for a month, and we have to allow time for it to come back. So that's 44 days. And then, so that would be perfect timing.
A lot of people were worried at our first meetings, why is it an opt-out? The RSA is written from the state, the same way they're following it. It has to be an opt-out system, because they want the whole community to have the availability for that power choice. So that's why it's an opt-out, not an opt-in. Cause if you went to buy power, it's an opt-in, only 20% of the people do it. You're not really buying power for the community, you're buying power for just a first portion.
Well, this gentleman here, and probably at least one other person sitting here, has power from a third-party supplier already that they bought off of a mail card. And, so that's opt-in.
Generally, what percentage of the people actually do third party?
Through opt-in,
No, just in general, like before even community power was a thing, how many people are actually going out to third party suppliers?
so that's opt-in,
Yeah.
that's what was available prior to community power, 3 to 4%,
Okay, so it's pretty low.
pretty low. And some of them are good companies, not all of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are onerous, but most of them are okay, and some of them are great.
Yeah.
Direct, you have direct, right?
Correct.
They're awesome.
Now, when community power comes into a location, does that change that three? Does it become even less than 3 to 4%
So-
of people going outside that?
We don't have statistics yet, it's
All
too new. What we do know is that of the remaining 95%, 2 or 3% opt out completely and stay with the utility. So about 2 or 3%.
That's not that much.
It's not bad at all. It could be higher in New Boston, because we're upside down on rate right now.
I'll give you some of the reasons they don't go to some of those other power companies, cause a lot of times you're looking at this public service or Unitil rate, every 6 months. So it takes a lot of additional tracking that nobody really has time for in their life. You know, they'll run off to work every morning, you gotta sit down and pay attention to it and swap into it or out of it, and makes a lot more work. This, I think, resolves a lot of that.
It does, but it's still appropriate to pay attention, and that's why I keep harping on the education. Being participatory, being involved, and just knowing a little more about it is part of what we wanna do, is to help you make good decisions and do what's right for you. And we've been doing that at Standard Power for almost 15 years now, as a supplier of electricity throughout New Hampshire primarily, a little bit in Mass, a little bit in Maine, and one customer in Connecticut. Where we've primarily worked with schools and towns, provided them low dependable rates, while adding in features through net metering programs that reduce the rate further. So that's been our core business. It was a natural for us to go into community power, because we already work with the municipalities quite often. And we have the largest group of renewable energy generators in the net metering program in New Hampshire. So that's us, sir.
I just touch on how you're gonna deal with the people with solar panels.
Oh, net metering. So,
I said I thought you were gonna do it individually, meet with those people.
yes, so I net meter, I have solar on my roof, and I make 115% of the electricity I use. The utility owes me money, and I'm okay with that. I'm still connected, they still deliver. I would opt out of this when my town, Lineborough, they're on the same timeline as you. When they offer it to me, I will opt out, because I'd rather have the higher rate of the utility building up in my bank. I have old net metering, 2017 or prior, where the whole amount builds up in a bank and they always have to give it back to you. So if you buy any electricity, you're better off going into the community power plan. If you make more than you use, you're better off opting out. In the new net metering program, it's much more complex, and if you make 50% of your electricity or less, you should opt in. If you make more than that, you should opt out. If you wanna pay attention, you should arbitrage and be on the plan in the winter and off the plan in the summer, but that's a pain in the neck. But for people who really pay attention, maybe you, would wanna arbitrage and go back and forth. So, the law was supposed to support an easy decision and high volumes of data availability, so we could just give them a card to read, and they could make their own decisions. The law has not been followed quite thoroughly on the data that was supposed to be provided in net metering, or a feature called purchase of receivable. Those things are still being adjudicated in our legislative process, and hopefully this year we'll get some resolve. But because of that, we offer individual counseling for anybody who has renewables. Wind, solar, little teeny hydro plant in your backyard, whatever it is, we'll look at your bills. We might even come and look at it if it's cool, and give you what the best choices are.
How does that affect the solar panels our town has?
Not much. Your town has them attached to a meter.
Yeah.
It's behind the meter. It reduces the amount of delivery you have.
For one of the sites,
For one of the sites, yeah.
yeah.
All the rest, we pay delivery charge, and like Leo was saying, it's higher on our bill, the delivery. We've been watching it, and the delivery's substantial,
Yeah,
so.
So that might mean someday the town hooks up some batteries too. That would diminish the delivery charge, but then you have the consideration of having current technology batteries in near your buildings or near your facilities, which is a consideration with lithium.
Yeah, and the solar system's way away from them, so.
Yeah, there's stuff, but anytime you want someone another set of eyes on it, you can call me. I love doing that stuff. Any other questions?
And this same plan applies to small business accounts as well?
Okay, there's a differentiator.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, it does, if they're unserved. So if you have third-party supply already, you could opt in later when that contract ends.
Yeah.
But if you already have a third-party supplier that you buy electricity from, you wouldn't be eligible at launch.
Okay.
You have a small business?
I have a garage that's classified as
Okay.
HE general service, so.
All right, so, and do you pay your regular electric bill with Eversource, or do you have a third-party supplier?
I do as of my next bill, I hope, because I switched back with the rates changing.
Oh,
Switch
okay,
back to Eversource?
Yes.
Okay.
okay, and who'd you have for a third-party supplier, correct?
Direct energy.
Yeah, yeah, they're the good one
Right.
of the bunch, they're the best.
One thing I did learn, and I put the question to Dana, because we were chatting about it, I'm the selectmen's rep on the energy committee, so we fielded Bob with 4 or 5 questions last month, and one thing I learned that if I bought direct power, and I'm in the Unitil section of Dunbarton, not the Eversource, I would be paying a couple cents higher. I would never be as low as the Eversource rate. Where in this Dunbarton Community Power, for the people over on the east side of town that are in the Unitil section, should be real important to them, because the lower rate that Bob is gonna give the town is hopefully gonna be lower than Eversource. And we could never see that on Unitil the way it's set up now. We always typically pay more. So it's gonna be a win-win for anybody that's on Unitil on our end of town.
Yeah, Unitil tends to be $0.015 to 2 pennies
Cause
higher.
our town will pay the same
Right,
irregardless.
Unitil and Eversource customers would, under the community power plan, would pay the same. So they don't get the differential rate under community power. They
Yeah.
have to pay, Unitil people would not have to pay more.
Which is quite a difference.
Yeah. It was huge last year too, for a while.
Yeah, it was 3 cents, 4 cents.
Well, even 4 cents, I think.
Yeah, 4 cents.
Yeah.
Yes, sir?
When did you pick the rate?
So after the PUC approves the plan, and after your town meeting has approved it,
Right.
so after
Yeah.
those 2 elements,
That's.
those are the 2 gatekeepers.
60 to 120 day period somewhere in there.
Yes, sir.
after approval. And what ballpark, spatial interpolation, 50,000 foot view, do you have a ballpark number?
I can tell you today, electricity for us, for major purchases, was 8.7 cents.
8.7, okay. And what's Eversource going to?
8.258
Oh, is
But
it?
only for only
yeah,
for
yeah.
6 months.
for 6 months, and that includes a $0.015 write-down. So their buy price was closer to 9.7.
7, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, one thing, if the prices are unreasonable, we find like we can, let's say the price goes up. Eversource may be our one supplier we wanna stick with, we don't have to execute the contract immediately, not the contract, but the agreement, correct?
Yeah, and we don't wanna execute in any negative situation if we can help it.
Right. Cause it doesn't make sense to go with a more expensive company when you're trying to save dollars.
Yeah. Yes, sir?
Yeah, just a side question, I'm on the energy committee, so.
Yep, I know.
Yeah. Several months ago, I got a mailer from a outfit that was offering a lower rate. It was an outfit, I think it was in Texas or something like that. Would they still be able to offer that if Standard Power is the supplier?
Yes, I mean, you can opt out of this program at any time. So you can call up or go to the website and say, I want out. Which would mean you could buy the third-party supplier if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And frankly, I know you pay attention because you're on the energy committee and pay attention to this stuff, you could arbitrage the rate all the time. Because you can come and go in our plan as you choose, as you can with the utility. So the only thing you'd have to watch out for is that mailer if it has a early termination fee.
Yeah, that, wasn't a major question, it was just something that I saw in the mail.
Oh, yeah.
I just got curious about it.
Yep.
So one of the follow-on questions to that, we probably don't have any data on it yet, but would any of these opt-in suppliers look around and say, oh, Dunbarton's on community power, we're not gonna waste our postage money sending mailers there? Do you think that they're thinking about that possibility of not cluttering our boxes with?
I don't think it's a consideration because they already know they're gonna get a minute amount of replies. So it's a budgeted expense to do mailings, and New England is right, because New England rates are higher than, by a lot.
Other than Hawaii.
Other than Hawaii and California, we're higher than most of the rest of the country in the New England ISO, the New England states.
Yeah.
Because we have limited generation and limited connections to other utilities outside of our zone, outside of the New England ISO.
Any other questions?
If you have a time of day use plan, you can't use community power, right?
It doesn't exist yet.
Just, I saw something on Eversource that there was something.
There's
that
a couple test
Or a
cases.
couple tests.
We've been pushing legislatively for time of use for a while, along with a few other features that we look forward to enjoying for these programs.
Last question over here.
One other question, Bob, when you pick the rate, how long is that good for?
That's part of the select board and
What's the-
ultimately Lean's consideration.
And that'll be part of the survey that you give to people, or the committee will determine.
The committee will have an opinion, then you guys will be the ultimate arbiter, whether, you know,
6
whether.
months, a year, 24 months.
Yeah, so we have one plan out that's 20 months, we have another one that's out that's 30 months.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, based on the results, the Energy Committee / Community Power Committee will make a recommendation
Yeah.
on both the default rate and the term
Yep.
for doing it based on what the market is showing at the time.
I heard you first.
Okay,
Name for the record, just so we know.
Yeah, John Stevens. Winslow Road, yeah. I'm gonna put this, if, that got kinda complicated.
Next.
Handle his info.
Yep.
Is the selectmen got any idea which way they wanna go as far as when you go to town meeting? It's only a month.
I'm in favor of at least considering this, and the thing is, the fact you can opt out is a win-win.
Yeah.
I mean, we can
No,
say,
I don't mean that, I mean as far as 100% renewables not, or whatever.
I think the default rate should be the lowest rate possible.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I have two other people gonna give me input too. But the thing is, you can choose how green you wanna be. The default rate does have some green in there as required by legislation.
Yeah.
You can be more green if you want, but I think we should go with the lower cost first, because the whole purpose of doing all of this is what? Saving the residents some dollars.
Yeah.
And I think some of the towns that have chosen to be a little bit more renewable, it's because that
They're
rate
more liberal.
was almost minuscule over what the default rate would have been.
So that makes a
Yeah,
difference.
if you look at this
Yeah.
chart that he's provided, it kinda gives you a nice segment here. It says basic product optional, community power program is default is the next one up. 50% and then 100% renewable, so that put Dunbarton kind of in the.
But that's not set in stone now.
But a couple numbers, here's a couple numbers, okay? If you do 10% extra, it costs 0.3 cents per kilowatt hour. If you do the 100% plan, it costs 3 cents extra.
Big
About.
difference, big difference.
Yes, sir.
I got it back now.
Okay.
I was reading in here, somewhere it said a community power committee, basically, or can it be the energy committee?
So, the law indicates that it should be, either the whole energy committee should become the community power committee for a period of time, or there should be a subcommittee as a community power committee.
Yeah. Got it.
And we actually talked about that at one of our previous energy committee meetings, where I'm the chair of the community power committee, and the other energy committee members are members of the community power committee also.
That's good.
So we formally did address that
Yeah.
at our meeting.
Last question?
Yep, Bob Leonard, Holiday Shore. So all the questions are gonna be ironed out by town meeting, that you're gonna be making the presentation to the
The
voters?
thing is, this gentleman will make the presentation.
Right,
We've had public hearings,
Or me.
or Dana.
okay.
Dana's on the hook for it as the backup. If he's being pulled in 10 different directions, so Dana will probably make it. And we'll probably augment and say some comments about it, and they'll be open to the public for comments. I mean, they're gonna wanna hear what the board, our opinion on it.
This
Sure.
meeting here will be just like having the town meeting, except it'll be tenfold with questions.
Okay,
Cause the people that didn't come to any of these public meetings
exactly.
will be asking the same repetitive questions to answer
Okay.
your question.
Mhm.
We will not be doing any of the finalized picking of terms and pricing until way after it's approved at town meeting, and then approved by the state.
So we're gonna be approving or not approving a concept,
That's
and then you
correct.
guys are gonna be fine tuning.
Right in there, if you read your warrant article that we gave you earlier
I
tonight,
did, yeah.
it's giving us the final decision afterwards to go to market for the town at what we think is the best time, and we're gonna use this community,
As our technical advisors.
Power committee, yep.
yeah.
Okay,
But the thing is, again, it's all about saving dollars. If we're not saving dollars, it's a no-go.
exactly.
That's the bottom line.
And I'm the
That was
selectmen's
it.
rep on the committee, so
Mhm.
I don't hit every one of their meetings, but when I can, I'm part of their meetings, I follow it.
Well, that's what I was wondering, that, you know, when you're out buying the power, and we've now had the town meeting, March, was it 12th, and now we're in that 60 to 120 day period, are we running the risk of, it's time to go back up to 11 or 12 cents kilowatt hour?
That's why we may defer pulling the trigger on the plan.
Or one more, until it goes back on.
You got
on
it.
cycle.
But they'll be advising us, our energy committee will advise us. He doesn't wanna see us spend more money than we have to.
Right,
Well, we know that Unitil and Eversource will be changing their rates on August first.
August 1st, okay.
August
yeah,
1st,
so
we know
that'll
that.
be my next question.
Yeah, that's actually already been set, and they know, what is it, they announce it like 6 weeks ahead of time,
Yeah.
approximately?
The 13th of the 2 previous months.
And Bob,
Okay, yeah,
this year is one of the reasons that this select board jumped on this, we signed an agreement with Bob's company to provide this, whole strategy for the town this early on, cause we know the rates are down now, they're not gonna stay there,
No,
obviously.
exactly.
So I'd rather negotiate them as quick as possible for the town to get the lowest rates. And then whether we go 24, 30 months, or 36 months, will all be based on what these guys give us back
Yeah.
for feedback.
And if they stay true to the 120 day period, you're looking at July, so you might be able to sneak in while the rates are still low before the August rate,
Bingo.
so.
Yeah, and we're thinking it's probably gonna be closer to 140 days with the cards and,
I would say right now that, you know, the traditional pricing days, you know, when it's the right days, normally, there is no normal. As I said, this is mid-February, these are usually some of the worst price days there are in the whole year. And
it
natural.
was 22 cents last year, right?
Yeah, it's 22.
Yeah.
And today I can buy electricity for, you know, 8.7, 8.8.
Mhm.
So it's incredibly low, and that's because of the natural gas glut in this country.
Yeah.
Is the town married to Standard Power?
Are we married to it?
No.
No.
Right.
So-
We're not married to them yet, we did sign an agreement with them for this presentation. What do they call it?
Non-binding.
So I work under a memorandum of understanding that has an immediate cancel clause in it.
For me, the party.
From either party, either one of us can say goodbye
Yeah.
in any given minute.
But tell them about some of the other companies that have, how long you've been in it, how long they've been in it, some of that research that you gave us early on.
Well, about the timelines of community power.
the other
how long-
community power supplier options.
So there's a startup company that's doing this, and a company out of Mass that's been in the business for a while. Those are the two competitors. We've been involved in the legislative process since day one. We're actually just starting to do the same early launch work, with the expectation of having a bill next year in Maine. So, you know, we start at the grassroots. With these programs we use for net metering with the local hydros and solar projects, we worked on the legislation before it was implemented. We're working still on legislation for how it's evolving. So we participate here in New Hampshire, we pay attention, and as far as schools and towns goes, we've been doing them for a decade. And so we're one of the
We're not married
earliest.
to them.
We're
You
not.
answered my question.
Yeah.
Their fee is substantially lower than the other companies.
Oh, yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
But he'll make us money if he can deliver for us.
It's good enough, yeah.
One thing that's worth probably pointing out is if the warrant article passes here, we can implement the program at any point in time, we can pull the trigger on it. If it doesn't pass, we have to wait a minimum of another year to get this approved at the next town meeting, and who knows what happens to energy in that period of time. If it approves here, we are now have an open window for actually pulling the trigger on a plan implementation anytime in the next, well, you said it was indefinite.
It is indefinite.
Yeah, so,
And the closing rate at the town, these guys probably haven't heard it yet. At the town meetings, your closing rate's what, 87%?
Oh, on the vote, so this is a 50% vote, has to be over 50%, our yes rate by residents is 86–87%.
Majority vote.
Yeah, majority vote, yeah.
Majority.
Yeah, we're running a pretty high percentage.
and one other thing worth noting is that between, Standard Power and the other suppliers of community power, you're probably looking at in excess of, I would say, you probably know the number, 50 or more towns that are actually doing this. This is not Dunbarton sticking its neck out.
Yeah, at the end of
Right.
this cycle, this town meeting cycle, there should be 70 towns in process.
Yeah, this is significant.
30 of them will be ours. We've got 2 competitors.
The nice part is they put us with larger towns, and mix us in there, so they're buying what, 100?
100 million kilowatt hours at a time is the kind of the magic number, 100 million kilowatt hours.
And Dunbarton's probably about 6.
About,
Alone.
and your individual houses use somewhere between 600 and 1200 kilowatt hours a month. So to get to 100 million, it takes a pretty big pile.
Yeah.
I can see one question being asked at town meeting. I get my utility bill in the mail, who do I pay?
Yeah.
I can see that being asked, so.
Yeah, there's a couple classic questions. That's one of them. You can still get the same bill. The only thing that changes is that one line where it says Dunbarton Community.
But that's not
Power.
answering the question. The question is,
I answered the question first, and then I went on with a clause.
is it, you pay community power, or you still saying?
It's the same
Well,
as
that's
what
the
I
question
said.
they're gonna be asking you.
I understand, and the answer is you still get the same bill from your utility.
Yeah.
One line changes, the supply line, and it says Dunbarton Community Power. That's the whole answer.
Yeah.
In
I've
other
said it
words-
so many times, that's why I can spit it out just like that, because I.
In other words, whoever's
You're right.
supplying whoever's delivering is sending your bill anyway.
That's correct.
Yeah,
It's right
you're still
on that
Unitil
line.
bill,
And
you're
in
still
town here,
Eversource
it's
bill.
either Unitil or
Right,
Eversource.
exactly.
Yeah.
You're
Because I
Unitil.
can see that being asked like a lot of people.
Oh, yeah, 3 times, 4 times in one meeting.
Yeah,
I did one at Milford, there was like 70 people, and you could tell the people on the left side of the room couldn't hear the people on the right side of the room.
You actually look at your bill, it'll tell you who the supplier is.
Our moderator's gonna take care of that.
That's it. Got it.
They could-
By the way, John's the moderator.
Okay, cool.
Oh.
Any other questions?
No.
All right, let's wrap it up. Okay, thank you, sir.
My pleasure. It's always good to see you all.
Thanks, Bob.
And if you're not there at town meeting, we got a nice stand-in for you.
So this was our last required meeting before town meeting.
It is, yeah, and, I gotta get Dana working on the plan, so we can get that, get that approved too.
Now, will you have handouts like you given out for the town meeting?
No,
Or slides?
nothing.
Janet,
Okay.
she just
I'm
called us
expecting
that
to have
John's
nothing
gonna
other than the
play
words
that
on
be here
the,
tomorrow, so he's not.
warrant.
Gotcha, okay, thank
Do
you.
we have an
Yes,
option for slides, and do you want that?
No, I'm just,
No.
I don't want it to go forever. The thing is, it's late at night already, it's
Yeah.
10
When
o'clock
I
at night.
put the warrant on the town website, maybe we can have, a notice that the handouts are available at the town office, or through like a PDF.
Can we put a
We- we-
PDF up online?
Yes, yes,
Will
Okay.
you send me an email asking me for that, or a
Yeah.
better version of that?
yep.
Yes,
All right.
that's a win.
And I'll give it to you, in electronic
Lean, I
format,
don't mind giving you mine here too, or whatever extra Bob.
All right,
but we need an electronic one too.
we're gonna close the public hearing on this power issue. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, sir, for attending again. Energy Committee, thank you for being here.
All your help.
Thanks, Dana.
Yep.
Again, gentlemen, great budget, impressive. I've been to like, this is like my 8th one of these meetings in the last, I don't know, 10 days. Everybody's way higher, even, I think Wilton 7 and.
the next thing on the agenda is,
Yeah, I know,
right?
I got the number, that's why I'm saying this
You got
third time.
public comment again.
Wicked impressive.
We tried for 0.
Mailbox even. Yeah, I don't know if
That would
they
be
finished
good.
it. I thought they did.
We pretty much have it flat for 9 days.
Usually they get.
See, like, good luck paying these
Services, keep services flat.
It's pretty fresh because it was last night, so.
Let's go through the surrounding accounts.
I would recommend that you put your.
Yeah,
Did you run out of film?
Yeah, we're working on well right now.
John
I'm not sure
Vickers.
we got it, guys, working hard.
No, we got 10 more minutes.
And Concord too, we're still.
Okay, I need you to clear out,
Ready to get out of here.
Fred,
small conversations outside, please, please clear out. I'll have to call the chief of police to clear the room, please.
I think I'm really.
We still got a few things to discuss, so you're welcome to stay if you wanna stick around.
Otherwise, get that.
Do you have anything else?
Yes, there's a couple people. No, public.
Oh, yeah.
The chief's staying up here with us, right?
Yes.
I consult on all these energy projects, I don't even charge.
Did you wanna talk about the,
I was gonna say, what about the email?
There's a coal, we had a problem with COLA. That was, I just non-brainer.
Not till they say so.
Okay, let's talk about that one item.
Okay,
Talk about that,
I'm gonna go to email response for the COLA for the volunteer
All right.
fire department and election workers.
yep,
I just read this overview from what was sent from our attorney, cause the municipal association didn't want to answer the question Lean proposed.
yep,
But in reading this, the very first paragraph says that
Yeah, so we're
ideally,
standard power.
all of these increases should be paid after town meeting.
One of our parent companies.
If they're not, it puts you in a gray area. So he gives a couple examples where the select board can say,
We administer.
you know, go ahead and pay them after January first. But what he also says in both these paragraphs is, if
Monetize them.
that COLA gets changed on the floor as it did 2 years ago,
Because we've
did.
got
it all changes all over again.
90% of the work now.
So,
We just gotta send somebody
I
else
think-
rates,
in reading this letter from our town attorney,
not over.
he says right in there,
long time.
the best thing to do is wait for town meeting, and then you have all the necessary green lights to go ahead and provide it.
Flower's the one I'm gonna recommend to do
So-
the test.
I was under the, before I read this, I was under the understanding that we were gonna make a decision as a board of selectmen to take that off of your plate. But after reading this, it's very clear that we should,
We're still buying.
especially in light of it being changed on the floor.
yeah, that would just complicate
Because it is
another,
just a
another layer of
proposed budget.
complication, and it has been changed on the floor before
I
too.
mean-
That or if ours gets denied and we go to default budget, then we're gonna be in the same boat.
So I'm gonna give that back to you, but that's my vote on it.
so
I
how
think we
do I
should-
proceed with the pay that went out on, for
You
the
still have it.
January?
You still have it in your basket, don't you?
The paychecks for the,
Or the firefighters in the new basket we just signed?
that, is it in the basket?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so that we could just void it and redo it.
I think we better lean only, cause I read that, in any of the two outlets he gave us, he says it should probably not be done.
There's a lot of wording in there.
Yeah. All right, I think we have consensus here, let's do that.
So just do it after town meeting the way you've always done it, only because if it
Town
gets
meeting
changed on the
changes,
floor.
and it has happened on the floor.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that,
That would just be a
Floor increased our-
double whammy.
yeah.
But make sure to tell Hope we did look into it and, you know, we
Yeah.
have the
Yeah,
results there.
All right, then I like to make them, after I clear the room to talk about that one item, I gotta clear the room again, because I have to make a motion to go into non-public per RSA 91-alpha. Subparagraph 3, Roman number 2 alpha. Jinsky, yes.
Gulch, yes.
Drain all, yes.
All right, we have 2 minutes to clear the room.